All right, welcome. Hello, good afternoon. Um, this is our second session for professional development, and this one is, of course, as you know, on cover letters. And I hope you were able to attend or see the video last week about resumes. I'll reference a bit of that information. These are, of course, documents that go hand in hand. They're made to go together, so it all ties together. And once again, I'm Dr. Shannon Andrus. Please call me Shannon. I'm here on behalf of the Denver Training Group. Mike reached out and contacted us to provide these PDs and having a great time. It's a fun topic. It's a great group of people. So very excited to be presenting on this topic, which is an important one. Um, I am the one who covers writing. That's my background, being an English teacher, a peer editor, a dissertation coach. I got my doctorate in education and largely helped with research and communication. So that's my background. So that's why I'm doing the first two parts of our steps in our four-part skill series, resumes and cover letters. And then my amazing colleague, Carrie, will be here starting next week doing networking and then interviewing skills. And they really are all part of the package of getting you the job, the internship, the opportunity, the teaching assistantship, the fellowship, whatever you're applying for now and going far into the future of a long career, you'll need these skills. So happy to be here for these first two. We'll pass it off to Carrie, and then we will both be there on November 11th for the professional day when you can come and talk to us, and we can talk more about your particular questions. But let's jump in with cover letters. Carrie and I both, because these topics are so united, we have a big five that we like to talk about for you to keep in mind, overarching all of the work you're going to do to find your opportunities. My first big one I listed first is don't make it easy for them to say no. And what I mean by that is making a foolish mistake, not putting the right job title, not realizing you don't have the qualifications, but perhaps there was a different internship that would have fit, not editing, having an error, having something hard to read, something that's sent in late, whatever it may be. Those things make it easy. Everyone who's reviewing potential employees, interns, whatever it may be, is going to have a lot of tough decisions to make. And you make it easy if you haven't even put the right info on. That makes it easy to say, well, this one's going in the no pile. And maybe you were a great candidate otherwise. So make sure you pay attention to those details because you'll get weeded out otherwise. And that ties into the second part. You have to personalize and you have to prepare. So it's not only applying for the right job and you don't have any, spelling mistakes or you haven't listed the wrong person as the contact, but you have to go beyond that and really personalize your cover letter and your resume and the networking and the interviewing. It's about doing research ahead of time and being prepared. And those details matter. You put them in because that gets you noticed. It gets you through the AI screening tools, and it shows that you have an interest. It shows that you've gone another step. Authenticity is incredibly important in what you write, but Carrie's going to speak a bit more to that with the networking and the interviewing and that interpersonal piece. And then avoiding the confidence trap, which again, she'll talk more about. But that idea is that people think I'll have confidence once I've accomplished a lot. And what we're going to encourage you to do is have confidence now. Have confidence from the get go. Believe in yourself. That's how you achieve things. You don't wait around until you've done them to get the confidence. Everyone who's in this program belongs here, deserves to be here. There's no reason you shouldn't get these opportunities that are out there. So believe in yourself, present yourself in the best light through all of the steps, moving towards getting that position, and you're going to do great. All right, but specifically with cover letters, I just want to emphasize, you have to tailor them. You have to change them. You can't just have one. And I said this last week about resumes. Unfortunately, you can't just have one resume. It really should be tailored, changed, adjusted for the type of job, the specific job you're looking for. Same thing with these cover letters, even more so with the cover letters, that you really want to say, this company is so interesting to me for these reasons. And this job position fits perfectly with things I've already done, things I'm studying, things I want to do. So you have to tailor it, change it for every single one. And that's going to take time and effort. So remember, looking for a job is a job. Hopefully just a part-time job, but you should expect to spend a fair amount of time. It's not something you can just say, I've got 20 minutes before class. I'll just fill in this application online. I'm done. Put more time into it. You're going to get so much more back. personalize, and prepare. All right, but what is a cover letter? I'm sure you've heard of it. Perhaps you've even written some, but I want to start by just defining it and talking about why it is important. So they can be called letters of intent or letters of interest. So you may see that. They may say, please send us a letter of interest, to see if we might want to go further or something like that. It all means the same thing. It's I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for an opportunity. I'm looking to connect with you letter. It usually goes along with your resume, but it's assumed it'll be read before the resume. So the cover letter comes first. It's truly your first impression before they even get to that resume. And what it allows is, look, why do you need it if you have the resume, right? Everything's right there on the resume. When I'm graduating, what my major is, what experience I have. True, but that's in a very particular form. So this allows you to do things like showcase the most important items. So maybe it's listed on there that you had a leadership position or that you worked in a lab or volunteered somewhere, but you want to emphasize what amazing skills that give you that relate to this position you're trying to get. And so you can give more information. You can tell anecdotes that maybe you have always loved this company and you think this industry. Maybe you read a great article and that inspired you. Maybe you've done documentary film work in this field. You can talk a little bit more about those stories, those details. You can mention people you know. We'll talk about networking letters. It was so wonderful to meet, Dr. So-and-so at the recruiting event. Talking with him made me realize this would be a wonderful position, right? None of that will be on your resume. And then it also allows you to address special circumstances. So perhaps maybe you're an older student returning to school or returning to the workforce. Maybe you've been working in things that aren't related to this at all. If they just saw your resume, they might say, well, this person isn't fit for this job, but perhaps you can show how those skills actually will translate to what they're looking for. So it's a chance to just give them more, to give them context and more info in addition to the resume. So what are the goals for this cover letter? It should instantly communicate why you are writing. We're going to go through the parts of the letter in a few minutes, and I'll show you how your intro paragraph should introduce who you are, what you're studying, and what you're applying for. So it's telling them, if they get that resume, they may or may not be sure what position you want or, where you're coming from. You can explain that to them. It establishes who you really are, and it captures attention, showing there's something in it for them. That I'm this great person. I have these experiences. I have this passion. Passion's a big one. I'm so interested in this. This is the career I want. This is what I can bring to you. And then it'll give specific examples. So maybe you list, I worked, I did data analysis in this lab with Professor so-and-so last semester, but you can tell a story about that, about how you were able to complete this project or work with others or, express your interest and learn so much about a particular field. You can say more. It should be succinctly written, just on one page. It's easily readable, and then it's going to be appealing to human readers and AI readers. So we talked last week, that's part of the tailoring, the personalization. You want to use those terms, that whatever is in the job description is in the blog post, is in the letter of intro, the website, information about the company, whatever you can put in that's going to show, oh, I've done the research, I've got these qualities, these skills, this background, this training, this certification. Make sure that's in there very clearly. And then it would close often with a call to action. Some resume guides will tell you, you always have a call to action, that I am going to call you. I will be reaching out, I'll be in touch to schedule an interview. That can be a little bit too forward. So you at least have a plan for your action. You might just close with thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. But then you know how to check in, touch base, see how things are going, So we'll talk about particular circumstances and how much you want to say about your next steps. But that's the goals of the cover letter. That's what it's there for. Who am I? What am I bringing to you? And I'm going to give something interesting. I'm going to tell you about myself. I'm going to fill in what the resume can't really communicate. Now, there are different types of cover letters. A job posting cover letter is the majority of the ones that are written. It's what you'll likely be writing. And it covers most of them. But I do want to address that there are other kinds as well. There's cold call letters and recruiter letters, which can be connected. You might do a cold call letter to a recruiter. And I'll talk in more detail about what those might entail. You might suggest the job with a job proposal, networking letters, you're introducing yourself. Those are typically emails, of course. Referral letters, that's when somebody has said, hey, I think you'd be great for this, and you're letting them know. And then thank you letters, very important. And finally, challenging job search situations. So again, as I mentioned before, maybe you are returning to school or to the workforce after a while. Maybe you're coming from a different background than the one you're trying to go in. I mean, this is a very particular science-oriented field that this program is focused on. Maybe you don't have a lot of background. What can you do about that? The cover letter can help you cover it. But let's start with the main one, the main type of cover letter you'll be writing. It's the most often used, and it's used for a posted position. There's a position out there, it's on the website, it's been listed at your college or university, it's on Indeed.com or Monster. I mean, you found it somewhere. It says, this is what we're looking for. Now, your goal is to capture their attention and show them you've got what they are looking for. And that's again where those terms and specific mentions of what they talk about are so important. So here's an example. This one is pulled from the MIT site. I referenced it before. Almost every college, university, they'll have a career center. They may have examples of resumes and cover letters. I just find this to be a nice assortment that MIT, UPenn have. University of Colorado has some nice ones as well. So many places you can look for examples. But I pulled several into our talk for today, so I'll show you what it looks like. So let's just first look at this letter overall. I know it's small. I'm going to zoom in a moment. But this person has created a letterhead. They are mailing in an actual cover letter. That's happening less and less, of course. There's still a place for it, no doubt. You may show up at a job event and want to have at least your resume. You might have a cover letter as well. You may bring one with you or drop it off. You might mail it in. So if you are actually printing out a cover letter, you can create a letterhead at the top. It has your address, your information. Again, there's many examples out there. There's templates online. Then you'd have the address of the person to whom you're addressing and their work and all of that. You'll address it to someone and then you'll jump in. So let's point out a few things. So this says, Dear Merck Future Talent Program Coordinator. So I think they're using this just to not have, you see it says sincerely biology student. So in this example they've made up, they're not creating fake names. Try to address it to a specific person if you possibly can. You really want to avoid to whom it concerns. In fact, it might be better just to avoid a salutation altogether if you don't know the name of the person. But if you can say, you call, you ask, you do some research, you looked on LinkedIn, you dive into the website a little deeper, and you find Dear, Jane Smith, whomever it is, and then a comma or a colon. And then, so this is the intro paragraph. They jump right into it, and this is what I recommend. I am a junior at MIT pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree in biology and a minor in chemistry. I am writing to express interest in the Merck Future Talent Program for interns in biology. So this first paragraph pretty much could stand alone. This is who I am. This is what I'm applying for. And then, there's a little more interest. I heard about it at a campus recruiting event. I was extremely impressed. I have this biology major. It's a nice encapsulation of, this is who I am. You should take a look at me. Really hope you'll consider me for this job. The next body paragraph or paragraphs, one or two, are going to give even more information, a story, more details, but you've covered the main stuff right in that first paragraph. And that's just pointing out, you've got pretty much everything here. So then, and it's a little blurry, but this is that next paragraph, this next body paragraph. So I worked at Vander Heiden Laboratory at the Koch Institute for Integrative Cancer Research. And these are the skills I've gained. And I'm experienced in laboratory techniques. And I worked specifically on, this DNA sequencing program or something. So again, it's showing, oh, wow, this person really knows about this, or they have this experience, or they had, they've shown that they've been selected for another highly selective program. You're giving them something else that again shows your skills or your interest or where you want to go or why you have passion. Even if you don't have the exact skills or background, you can show I have a passion for learning and research. I have a passion for hard work. I have experience that is leadership and guiding a team to achieve something. You're going to put that in to show them, take a closer look at me. And then you'll sum it up. So the last paragraph is pretty much a very brief encapsulation of, again, I'm an awesome person and would be a super fit. I'm interested in this job. Thank you very much. That's the main goals of the last one. So I'm passionate about research, have extensive knowledge of biology, and have excellent communication, teamwork, and organizational skills. I am extremely excited about it, and please contact me. Thank you for your consideration. So that's the pieces. This is just one example. I have several more, but you'll see this type of layout, this type of information again and again. Now, what if you just want to reach out and say, hey, this is an awesome company. It's where I want to live, or it's what I want to do, or they're the only company doing this really exciting research. So you might want to reach out to them. Or maybe they have a bunch of postings, but not exactly what you're looking for. Or there might be a recruiting firm that you just know exists. You want to reach out. And then a recruiter specifically, you might write to and say, hey, I know you're looking for people. So this is more or less more open-ended type of letter. Oh, and then job proposal that you think, again, these are all kind of overlapping in. There's not a specific job posting, but I want to reach out. I want you to be aware that I'm out here. I want you to be excited about me. I think there's a connection. Maybe we can somehow find something now or down the road. And then our networking letters. This will be important. And again, Carrie's the one who will be talking about networking next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. But networking is you are reaching out to someone maybe you've met, you've been introduced to, you saw somewhere, you got a business card, someone else told you about them. Whatever the connection is, you're trying to strengthen it, and there's something you want to get from them. You want an introduction to other people. You want them to give you leads on a job that might fit. You want them to make suggestions about what you should be doing, right? You're asking for something with someone you have at least some form of connection with. So ideally, they'll connect you with someone else. A referral letter is a form, and that's where, again, someone mutually said you should reach out. So that's where you're name dropping, and you're saying, Dr. Jan Smith, at University of Denver was kind enough to let me know that you're doing work in this field, and I would absolutely love to have a conversation with you, right? So you're name dropping that someone said it'd be a good idea for you to talk to them. That's going to move it a lot further than you just completely cold calling them. So networking is so important. Using those connections wherever they may be. Go to the events, meet people, shake hands, hand out your resume, collect business cards. Ask anyone, any professor who likes you, anybody in your, campus offices with whom you work, ask them, who's hiring in this field? What do you think I should do? Who do you know who might be able to help me with this? People love to make connections and help people they like move forward. So use those and follow up on them. So here's an example of a networking letter. I put a couple of things important in blue. So, hello, Dr. Rapp. We met when I attended your course. So I took your course or I attended your lecture. We have some connection. This is who I am. I am writing to inquire about any potential contacts you may have in the publishing industry. So really direct. Who is this? Derek Roper. So Derek's being super clear. This is what I would like from you. I've attached my resume. Here's a few key points. Make it really easy for them. Don't make it too long. Don't, just send it out sort of vaguely. Ask them, do you have any contacts that would be good? Here's a reminder of what I've done. If you have, and then summing it up. If you have any professional publishing contacts who are looking for a creative, detail-oriented reader, please contact me. Pardon me. I sneezed. So that's a networking letter. Again, this will almost certainly be an email, and you'll be talking about networking more. Hopefully you'll attend that. Keep that in mind. If you're not sure where to look for opportunities now, next year, right after you graduate, reach out, do networking. I can't emphasize that enough. All right, here's another example. I wanted to pull this one up. Again, it's as though it's printed out. Some may be. When you email them, we'll talk about that on another slide, but they're largely the same. But I just want to look at this language again. So, dear Navigant Hiring Committee, maybe that's the best you can do. If you can find a specific name, try to find it. I'm a second year master's student in MIT's Technology and Policy Program, TPP, writing to apply for a consulting position in Navigant's Emerging Technology and Business Strategy Group. That's a lot of words. After speaking with John Smith at the MIT Career Fair, I realized, so what does that do? So it tells them, hey, this person knows something about this job. They spoke with John Smith. They got some indication that this would be good. And then I realized that Navigant's values of excellent, continuous development, entrepreneurial spirit, and integrity align with the principles that guide me every day. So there's a hook. There's a little bit more. I know about your company. I like it. I know what you value. Maybe I've gone and read your strategic plan that you put out 6 months ago. I'm going to show that I've done some research and show that I'm a person who would be a great fit and good connection for your firm, industry, company, whatever it may be. Now, what if you're writing a cover letter for a challenging job situation? Maybe it's a career change. You're coming from a very different field. Maybe you've had some problems with the law. You have something in your past that's a little bit awkward. Maybe you've just been out of the workforce for whatever reason. So these can be a little bit hard, and your resume might just look like some gaps. It might have some questions. You can address those in the cover letter. I'm not going to go real deep into different examples, but I just want to emphasize for anyone who does have these or other situations where, like, oh, there's something that's not great, there's something I don't love. Look for examples. There are so many online. So you can say, cover letter that addresses whatever it may be. Use that for inspiration and then personalize it. So, some things to keep in mind though, if you do have any of these gaps or concerns. You got to prepare to answer questions, so know that those will be coming, but give them some explanation, couch it in a positive way, but be honest. And then briefly explain your resume. As you may see, there's a 4-year gap. When I was not in school, I used that time to start my own small business. I did traveling. I learned about these things, and I have returned with a passion and eagerness to pursue my real calling in this field, right? So you're going to address it. You're going to say, you're not just going to hope they don't notice the dates. Emphasize the valuable skills that you have gained. As an older student, I have the perspective of this. As someone who has been in the workforce, I now come to this industry knowing these things, and my education is so enhanced by it, right? You really want to emphasize all the positive. There's a lot of positive to be said. And then we'd be using a functional resume. So that's just a callback. Last week, we talked about that. A chronological resume is typically for someone who's probably been in the workforce for a little bit. That's that reverse order. This is the most recent job I've had, and it's just job, job, job. A functional resume will emphasize your skills, or particular types of experience, your education for sure. So you'll want to use that functional resume. You'll want to frame and package everything that shows all of the best, most wonderful things about you that makes you an asset for this job or this company. And just a little bit, that's a form of parents also returning to the workforce. Just remember that there are transferable skills. So whether it's being a stay-at-home mom or dad, or again, if you had a small business, if you were managing a restaurant or a business, if you were running your own, company, doing projects in people's homes, there's all sorts of skills that you have to do all of those things. So if you do have a gap, or you do have something that's not exactly just the traditional straight out of high school, straight into college student, there's things you've done and you should build on them. Showing your passion is always important. So having that hook. I'm thrilled that this internship exists because I love this field. I want to work with this company. I want to learn these skills that you will teach me, and I will bring all of this passion to you. Another type of letter is, of course, the thank you letter. This comes after. So though we're talking about cover letters today, I did want to include thank you letters. You should send a thank you letter after every interview. If you network with someone and they send you any information, they say they'll help out, they give you a contact, of course, you need to respond and thank them. Many people don't send thank you notes or letters or emails, as the case is typically. They don't send them. So the good news again is that that just makes you look that much better within 24 hours, ideally within an hour or two. After that interview, you are sending that off, get it done, make sure it's very soon. Um, Take notes during your interview. You should do that anyway, just so you can think about the questions you may have, but that'll be a good place for you to reference what you learned in the thank you. And that will show that, you know even more about this company. You're still super excited about the position. You're hoping you'll keep moving along in the process. Um, you'll want to briefly kind of emphasize your strengths and say, it was so nice to meet you and I learned all these things. And I feel even more strongly that with my background in X, Y, and Z, I would be a wonderful fit. It's okay. You're selling yourself. It's okay. Email is, again, how you're going to send it. I think some people out there may still send handwritten notes even for interviews, but at the speed at which most of these things move, while that can be very nice, an email is the norm, probably what you're going to do, and that's great. So here's a thank you letter example. I start off with just thank you right away, right? Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today, sharing innovative work, blah, blah, blah. Then this is what I learned. This is where the notes on the interview come in. From our conversation, I understand that the pace is fast, the work is top notch, and as hard as you work, you all have a great time doing it together. So I was paying attention. I've learned something about your company. I like it. I think that makes you great. I'm still super excited in this position. You're also looking for a person who can do this and this. I am confident I am that person. So this is the part where you're saying, I'm great. You're selling yourself. If you have any questions or want to continue our conversation, please feel free to reach out to me. So again, I can't emphasize enough, there are so many examples online in books from the library, on the career, websites and career centers of all of your colleges and universities. Use them for inspiration. You're not just going to cut and paste them, but this sort of template is what you're looking for. Shouldn't take you a real long time to write the thank you letter. Cover letter may take a bit longer, very much personalized for the position. Okay. This is just another example. I don't know that we need to go through that. Thank you for taking the time to meet me. From our conversation, I understand this. As I have shared, I have this. So again, that format of thank you. Here's what I learned about you. Here's what's awesome about me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I look forward to hearing from you. Some sort of closing line. Okay, so that's all the types. So now hopefully your wheels are spinning, the gears are going. You're like, okay, I need these cover letters. I'll probably be writing job posting letters. Where do I start? How do I jump in? Write the resume first. That's my recommendation. That you look at the job posting, you prepare your resume. If you don't even have a specific job posting yet, definitely work on your resume anyway. It's just that you'll be tailoring it and personalizing it and changing it, maybe creating multiple versions that then have to be tweaked just a little for particular jobs. But hopefully you have that resume done. So now you've organized everything, you have your info about you, you've thought long and hard about what's most important. Now write the cover letter to introduce it. It'll probably be a job posting letter again, but which type do you need? I recommend actually having a list or even note cards of these are the skills and qualifications I have that I know are most important about me, that are most impressive, they're my accomplishments, and or they're particularly suited to this job. So if it's leadership or research or data analysis or working with a team, if you have those qualities and you've seen them in the job posting in particular, you'll want to emphasize them. And then you'll sketch out this outline. Okay, what am I doing? Most of them are 3 or 4 paragraphs. 3 is fine. It's that opening line. We've seen a couple of examples already, some sort of body, and then closing. So let me give you some examples. Oh, let me describe it first. So we've seen already, you state clearly your purpose and a brief professional introduction. So dear so-and-so, I am a third-year student. I'm a junior. I'm a master's student. I am a PhD candidate. I am a recent graduate, right? I think everyone on here is a student. So you're going to introduce yourself as a student majoring in X at this university in this particular program, whatever descriptor is best for you. I am interested in this particular position because it's a great fit. I have these skills. You guys are awesome, right? Again, this first opening paragraph really can stand alone for the most part. It has who you are, why you want the job, what you'll bring to it. It's all in there. So you're providing an overview of your strengths and skills. So I am a first-year student majoring in engineering at the University of Colorado, writing to apply for an internship with InstaRobo's robotics department. I invented InstaRobo. I think it's an amazing name for a company. Actually, I didn't even Google it. I don't think there's an InstaRobo out there. I think I invented it. After speaking with Rosie Robot at the Front Range Career Fair, I recognized that InstaRobo's values of innovation, entrepreneurial spirit, and environmental conservation align with the principles that guide my life and are at the center of my career aspirations. I believe my leadership experience, including with my high school's award-winning robotics team, passion for research and data analysis, and experiencing interning with data tech will enable me to be a vital part of InstaRobo's 2024 intern cohort. Right? So again, pretty much everything's there that I think you guys are doing cool things. I'm awesome. I would like this job, please. And this is who I am. But then you'll have your body paragraphs where, again, you can explain things, you can emphasize, you can tell a funny story, you can mention some connection you have, you can give more details about something you're super proud of. You're not just going to go through your whole resume. You should be focusing on things that are particularly connected to this job and/or are the most interesting or important things about you and your experience that you want to emphasize. So this would be a second paragraph. As an aerospace engineering major and teaching assistant for Dr. Sharon Matthey in the Applied Mathematics Department, I spend every day thinking about how engineering and math are at the heart of the future that tech companies are currently creating. In my internship at Data Tech in summer 2023, I was able to apply these skills directly to this field, translating my coursework into real world experience. I did this and it had this result. I can bring that knowledge as well as these experiences, to this. So again, I'm giving you a little more detail. I spend every day thinking about this. I'm excited about this. And I had to do this project and it had a wonderful result, or it used these skills and I excelled. I know that InstaRobo is committed to giving interns real responsibilities and projects that will directly advance and impact advancements in AI. My experience as co-captain of my high school's robotics team. So now I'm talking about my robotics team experience again. I'm going to bring this, right? Giving them more. Then you have that closing paragraph. Succinctly, you're just saying, yeah, this is what I'm looking for, and you thank them. I'm interested in working with a forward-thinking company with talented people tackling some of today's toughest issues. I hope to have a chance to speak with you more about how my experience and coursework align with the qualities you seek in your summer 2024 cohort. Thank you for your time and consideration. I will reach out to you next week. So I highlighted this because this is the part where that call to action, it depends. And you can talk with your career center too. You may, if you are at a networking event, you can ask, should I reach out? Is there another person I should contact? Should I send my resume to more people? Or do you just want to leave it with thank you for your time and consideration? I look forward to hearing from you. That's fine as well. So just consider that call to action may or may not be in every cover letter you write. Okay. All right, I'm assuming there's no questions. Again, we're a nice small group here, so if anybody has a question, just unmute. You can ask me, you can put it in the chat. Just a few more examples that I have here. So this is an email, and I think I just wanted to include this one just as another example for you to see. It's so helpful. I can't emphasize enough how helpful it is to just look through a bunch of examples as you're writing this. As a rising third-year finance accounting honors student in Drexel's 5-year 3 co-op program, I am very interested in Johnson & Johnson's 6-month co-op position beginning this fall. Right? The first line, who am I? This is the position I want. I'm confident in my leadership, right? Then a little more detail. I completed my first co-op at a financial reporting house that I hope to build momentum. My resume is attached. Here's a little, I'm an alpha, beta, kappa, right? I look forward to discussing my qualifications. In the words of the FLDP, the world is waiting. I'm ready to get started. So kind of a cute little thing at the end. Um, you can you can add, those personal details, those anecdotes, kind of a funny thing. You have to be careful when doing it. So if you are going to go a bit more personalized, unusual, unique in your cover letter, I would have a few people read it and get some feedback. It can absolutely make you stand out, but you have to capture the right tone. So worth asking a few people to check in and see how they're taking it. So I just wanted to point out, as I said, jumping right in, this is who I am, and then going into deeper information about this person's experience. This is just another example. I wanted to point out this one because it has that subject line. It has a job posting number. You definitely want to include that if that's there. That's once again one of those places where if you take the time and pay attention to details, you're going to get to the top of the pile when people who don't even list the particular job or don't list it correctly get sorted out. This person used bullet points. I think those can be used. They look nice on the page. It's certainly much easier to read it. So keep that in mind. I tend to favor more of the full paragraph type, but you can use bullet points at times, especially if it's an email cover letter. I feel like because it's slightly less formal than the printed out letter, it works a little better in email. Let's talk about formatting a little bit. So if you were here last week, I talked about the F of attention. And what that means is that when people look at images on screens and papers, they tend to skim in particular ways. And what they tend to focus on is they skim over things, and people will skim over your cover letter. You're going to spend so long working on it, and they will skim it to some extent. Is that they tend to concentrate on the top. And then if they're going to spend a little extra time somewhere, it's going to be along the left-hand side. But they will come all the way back across when there's a new paragraph, there's some white space, there's a bullet, there's something bolded, there's a graphic. So there's reasons people come back across. So what I want to emphasize with this is not that you have to put every important word on the left-hand side, but do have those clear paragraphs, either 3 or 4, with some white space. You want to make it long enough, but just as with your resume, you don't want to crowd every little tiny spot on that page. You definitely don't. People are looking through these pretty quickly. So leave some white space, leave those nice, mid-sized paragraphs, but also front load all that important information up top. You're going to have more time and attention at the top of the page. So if we are talking about actually printing out a business letter, and again, I don't expect you to memorize this. You don't need to. It's online. It's also in my handout, which you can print out later. But you do want a date. And then the inside address is the address of the person you're sending it to. And then you'll use a formal salutation. This goes for email as well. Dear Mr. Johnson, dear Dr. Keeling. You'll use a colon most often. You can use a comma, but for business letters, colon is very common. And you can include a subject line on your printed document. Of course, there's a subject line in an email because there's the subject of the email. But if there is that reference, the job title, the job number, the referencing code, whatever it is, you should put that in, or you would put in, application for summer 2024 quantum internship, right? So just directly what it is so they know what they're looking at. Then you would begin with your body. You'd have a typical salutation. You can just stick with sincerely. It's a good one. And then again, this is for a printed out letter. You'd go 2 or 3 lines down, type out your name so you have space to sign it. Now, when you're emailing, it might be a little bit shorter, but the content will largely be the same. You shouldn't think of them too differently. You do want to send it from a professional sounding email address. So your student, school's email, perfectly fine, probably a good one to use. If you're using another one, just make sure it's a good professional email you'd want to use. Have that good subject line, applying for this, internship this, job posting reference number this. Leave some white space just as you do on the page. Bullet points, I think a little more acceptable in email. And then you'll want to have a professional signature block. So if you're not using a signature block, put one in, go into your settings in your email and have, your name. You could say, biomedical engineering student, expected graduation, May 2025. You probably don't need much more than that. You don't need to include your address, but you do want your name, perhaps a phone number, what your major is, something like that. Now, what about the content and what you write? Be aware of the applicant tracking system. That's what I was talking about with the AI, or the robots, as I like to call them, getting rid of resumes and cover letters as they come in. Remember, almost every Fortune 500 company uses one, and lots and lots and lots of the smaller ones too. But we're at like 95% of the biggest companies in this country are using machines to scan cover letters and resumes before they are seen by a human, and they get rid of about half of them on average. So use those terms. Make sure it's clear that you have the right info and that you're mentioning leadership or research or quantum, or whatever it may be. Foreign language skills, coding skills. If they talk about particular types of experience, bring it up, how it applies, how you can bring it. You're talking about what you have achieved, not just your responsibilities. So you don't want your cover letter to just be rehashing your resume, for sure. And you also don't want it to be, last summer I worked here. I had to do this and I had to do that and I had to do that. Okay. Say that you have those skills. Show how you use them, what you achieved, that you excelled in doing that task, whatever it is. Specifics and numbers are good for those body paragraphs after the first one. I increased revenue. I eliminated this. I had to oversee 47 people. I planned, a conference for other high school students involving 473 attendees. It's nice to put details in when you can. Those action verbs, right? You're trying to avoid passive voice. You're trying to use, I completed, I solved, it improved. And then you're offering, I'm bringing this to you. You don't want it to just be, I really want this job. It would be really great for me, and it would launch my career, and it would be super helpful, and it's what I want, and it would be so good for me. You don't want to come across like that. Yes, you want to show that you're excited and you love this company and you're showing that you want to work in this field. That's great. But you have to also say, and I'm bringing stuff to you. Yeah, you're not just giving this job because I really, really want it. I'm good for it. So we looked last week at the internship listing for IBM. I'm just kind of looking at time. We have a few minutes. I'll just bring it up again very briefly here. Let me go over. I think I still have this up. Applications now open. Okay. I believe you guys can see my screen now on my browser. If you can't, please let me know. So applications are now open to intern with IBM Quantum for summer 2024. So, and again, forgive me if you looked at this last week with me, but I just want to emphasize here, you would want to read all of this and be taking notes. They've trained interns who've gone on to do all sorts of things. Maybe that's a link. That's the exact career path you want. We're hiring software developer, hardware engineer, research scientist interns. So do you have experience in software developing or hardware engineering, doing research? Maybe it's in another field. Maybe you've done social science research. You could still apply that. And then they talk about the internship experience. Read that, apply it, Oh, I'm looking for this in an internship program, and I know it's what you can offer. Show that you've done some research, that you would be a good fit. You're excited to be there, and, it all is going to work on both sides. So they have quotes here. They have all these, previous interns. There is a lot of research you can do just on this one page for this one listing. So spend that time. Getting a job is a job. Treat it like a job. Block off that time. If you're going to apply for this internship, put it in your calendar that Friday afternoon when you don't have class from 2 to 4, you are doing research, you're making your note cards of what skills you want to emphasize, and you're starting to draft your resume and then your cover letter. All right. You must edit everything. I put it on its own slide just to emphasize it. Again, it makes it easy to say no if there are mistakes, or if it's just hard to read, they're not going to take things away. So spend that time, know you're going to need to. I wanted to talk about some of the online tools or embedded tools in the case of Microsoft Editor for editing. I teach writing, right? I want people to love writing. I hope they know rules of grammar and usage, but I am not against using these tools. I don't think all of us have to, A, be walking grammar books and dictionaries that, know every single rule and never get it wrong. But B, even if you know the rule, it might come across as clunky, or you might have just left out a word. Last night I was at a board meeting and somebody had handed out a piece of paper and we were all reading it. And someone pointed out that there was a little typo. I didn't catch it in that first quick read through. Nobody in the room did except this one man. It was just an extra A, like it was, please give research skills. And it was like A research skills. And it was just an extra letter A in there. Our brains are really good at skimming over things because we know what it's supposed to say. It's even more true when you've written it yourself. So I like these tools. Pro Writing Aid is a good one. Grammarly is a good one. Microsoft Editor, I feel like most people don't use it. They may use grammar check and spell check, but if you look on your Word programming, you can pull up Microsoft Editor. And so like Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, it goes beyond just you need a comma here, or you seem to have written for instead of from. And it will actually say, this sentence is in passive voice, or, this tone or this word is overused. I think this can be a great tool. I can't emphasize enough that it does not take the place of you carefully reading and deciding how you want to use it. So I just have a couple of examples. I pulled the Gettysburg Address, right? Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. I just copied and pasted it into Word and then put Microsoft Editor on it and said, Microsoft Editor, what do you think of this speech? So you'll see it got a score of 78%, which is not an awesome score. I mean, I think that's a C, right? But part of that has to do with antiquated language, of course. This was written a very long time ago in the 1860s. So part of it would be, like battlefield is one word now. Okay, sure. But then I put it in Grammarly, and you can see that these red ones are just mistakes, right? You need a comma here. You don't need that. But then these blue ones are more just suggestions. Hey, what if you put it this way? And so this one cracked me up a little bit. The engagement, according to Grammarly, was a bit bland. I mean, this is one of the most famous speeches ever written in the English language. And the delivery, slightly off, according to Grammarly. So again, the language is a little old-fashioned, and that's part of the reason it's dinging it. But my point is that even this incredibly famous, respected piece of writing, Grammarly is going to come back and say, hey, you need to fix up these things. So my point is, if you do want to put your cover letter into something like Grammarly, it may say, consider changing this word, or when it uses a lot, want to sound more confident, put it this way. You make the decision. Those aren't, if it's not something in red, then it's just a suggestion. It's just a algorithm suggesting that. You know the tone you're trying to get across. Read it out loud, have another human being read it, and then make the decision. And I will say, even with the things in red, it's almost always right. I still see a mistake every now and then. Just the other day, Grammar Check told me I needed to use insure with an E instead of insure with an I, but I was actually talking about insuring something. And the AI just missed it and thought I meant like insure with an E, like guarantee. That's a super common mistake. And I'm glad they're trying to help with which one you're supposed to use. But in this case, they got it wrong. It's not perfect. All right. Resources for you. Indeed.com career guide. These are links. Again, they're in the handout, so you can just do a quick Google search of them, or you can use the link when you get the handout. But they have a specific cover letters for students. Use those examples as inspiration. There are YouTube videos talking about the different parts. If you want to grab a library book, I'm still pretty old school. I still go to my library about at least once a week. And I just get stacks of books when I'm trying to work on something. There's a lot of great examples in books of cover letters and resumes. And then the career centers, again, they're going to have examples. Harvard Business Review had a nice article, how to write a thank you email after an interview. So while it is a lot of work and you do need to personalize it, do not feel that you have to start from a blank page. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't just try to figure it out on your own. There's nice templates. Use them as a jumping off point, and then personalize, personalize, personalize. All right, everybody. So no questions today. So it only took us, a little bit less than an hour to get through that. I'm happy to have your questions now. If you have something in particular about your circumstance or something you've seen with writing letters that you've wondered about or grammar in general, happy to talk about that. I also want to point out again, it's next week on Halloween during the day, not in the evening, but then on Wednesday evening, November 1st for networking with Carrie. And then November 11th is when we'll be there in person. There's my email address, Shannon at Word Nerd Consulting. Thank you guys for joining us today. And I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to stop the recording, but I am going to hang out in case anybody has any